why don't we start with why are you seeking the office of Attorney General?
That's a great question. I'm running for Attorney General because I am the best qualified Democrat, both to win the office and to do the work. I am the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of Delaware County. I'm the first Democrat ever elected District Attorney of our fifth largest county in the Commonwealth. And as you know, the Attorney General is the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the Pennsylvania, responsible for supervising thousands of investigations and prosecutions every day. I do that work every single day in Delaware County. I can do it in the Attorney General's office, and I can win the election for us in November of 2024. If you don't mind, I'll give you just a couple of highlights about the work I've done, which I think qualifies me, the values that you and I share that I will bring to the office as Attorney General. I started out my campaign 4 years ago by saying I was not only going to be tough on crime, but I was going to be smart on crime. And the very first thing I worked to do was to deprivatize our county privately run prison. So Delaware County used to have the only privately run correctional facility in Pennsylvania. I led the campaign to bring that back into public domain. No longer is anybody making a profit from incarcerating people in Delaware County. And I've reduced the population by a third over the last 4 years by giving low-level offenders a way to be diverted from court, do their penance, make their redemption, find their redemption without gaining a criminal record. That's actual criminal justice reform. The other thing I'm really proud of is the work we've done in the city of Chester reducing gun violence. And this is something I'm absolutely passionate about. I was a federal prosecutor, and I learned about a program called Focus Deterrence. And I ran for this office 4 years ago to bring that to the city of Chester, where William Penn actually landed and Pennsylvania began, and where my mother first lived as a free person when she came to this country as a 15-year-old Ukrainian refugee from a Nazi slave labor camp. You may know Chester has become one of the most violent small cities in America until I got elected. I worked to bring the community and the police together. We've reduced the overall number of shootings through the Chester Partnership for Safe Neighborhoods by 65% over the last 3 years, and we've brought down the number of gun homicides by 68%. That's what I can do for the people of Pennsylvania in every single community. I am going to fight for all of us every single day because I share the same values as you and I do as Democrats.
Thank you so much. You talked about a couple of things that I wanted to just get some additional feedback on, and that is the issue of juveniles. In Philadelphia, we're experiencing overcrowding in our juvenile detention center, and in Chester and Delaware County, I understand that same thing is happening. There's been an overflow situation in our juvenile facilities, and so how can we work to focusing on violence prevention, not just as a function of crime prevention, but as a function of public health?
That's a great question. And that's exactly what we've been doing in the city of Chester because we've partnered with organizations on the ground who are bringing peers into the community, from the community, who are helping stop this violence from happening in the first place, as well as giving people trauma therapy. So many people live in neighborhoods where gunfire is an average everyday experience. And it should not be true in this country, but it is, that gunfire is a leading cause of death of young people. That's morally wrong, and we've got to do something about it. So one of the things we've been trying to do in this country since 2006 is called the Justice Reinvestment Initiative. Lessen the reliance on incarceration and put more money into the services that these children, these young people need. But just this past October, the Juvenile Judges Commission in Pennsylvania wrote to Governor Wolf and said, we've got a real crisis. We've dramatically reduced the number of kids who are in juvenile detention, and that's a good thing. But we've now reduced it too far, and we don't have places to hold children who really need to be stabilized, pending putting them in a situation where they can get the help they need. And he said that's the second part of their letter. And I believe this, and I strongly urge Governor Shapiro to help do something about it. We don't have enough providers to do the programming required to help these children find their path. And so all of us have to get back involved in public service. I know you and I are passionate about it, but too many young people, and that's who their peer group is, need to become involved, not just in community organizations, but in government work, whether as a police officer, CYS caseworker, all over the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, we have a need for young people to help young people stay out of the jails.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to be able to encourage young folks to go into public service and to do things that will help their peers, focus and figure out ways for them to be able to determine pathways out of poverty and pathways out of poor decision making. So again, what is your pathway to victory? There are a lot of folks who are, and just wanted to find out how you are planning to run in both the primary and in the general election.
Great question. So I think in the primary, I'm going to just say this flat out. I think I'm going to run on my qualifications and on my record. I've learned in politics that the most important messaging you can give to voters is third-party validation about the work you've already done. So people who want to check out the work I've done can look at jackforag.com and see a wonderful video of people in the city of Chester talking about the partnership we've built together and how that's reduced gun violence in that city, and how we can do more work in that field in every community that's under the siege from gun violence. Same thing on wage theft. Same thing on my standing up for women and for the right to an abortion. I'm one of only 2 prosecutors in Pennsylvania who not only opposed the Boggs decision when it was before the U.S. Supreme Court in a court filing, but took a public pledge never to prosecute a woman for violating her constitutional right to an abortion after that horrible decision came down. So I think if I just get my message out to Democratic voters, they know I can win, and I am going to win this election. Can you 1 second? Sorry, my dogs are a little crazy right now. And in the general election, Isa, I think I am the Democrat candidate who can actually win this election. And you and I know politics. What's going to happen in 2024 is the Republicans are going to run a terribly negative campaign against the Democratic ticket from Joe Biden on down. And one of the most important issues they're going to run on is crime. They're going to talk about the crime in Pittsburgh and the crime in Philadelphia and try to scare people into voting for their candidate. And polls show in Pennsylvania that crime is one of the second or third leading issues, and that everyone is concerned about it. And most people generally trust prosecutors to do something about it. We just had an earthquake of an election for DA in Allegheny County this year, the second bluest county, where we lost the election by nominating a public defender against a prosecutor who ran as a Republican. So I think I am the only candidate who's got a record of success as an elected prosecutor who can stand up to these attacks next year and deliver this office into Democratic hands to continue to fight for the values that we all hold dear as Democrats.
Yeah, I mean, I think this issue of crime and safety and re-envisioning public safety is something that I think needs to be talked about a lot, particularly during the pandemic when all we heard were fireworks and ATMs being blown up, and now it's quiet. And that happened under a Democratic um, administration. Before the Biden administration, there were booms every night. And so now those of us, we can sleep at night, in our urban areas. So if we stay on message and we talk about our values, then I think that we can help boost up the top of the ticket, as well
Absolutely.
as folks who are running down ballot. And that gets me to the question about
Yeah,
the running collectively and running a coordinated campaign. The judicial elections were amazing because Democrats swept in the judicial elections last in November. And so, how do you feel about the down ballot candidates running together, but also figuring out ways to boost up those folks? The Biden and Harris ticket.
absolutely. Great question. First of all, I love the candidates we've got running for Auditor General and Treasurer. I think we've got some outstanding people, and I can't wait to see who the ticket is after the primary. I have a good idea who it's going to be, but the voters will ultimately decide. I think of the row offices, the Attorney General gets the most focused attention because, candidly, most voters don't really understand what the Auditor General does, and they have maybe a basic understanding of what the Treasurer does. The Attorney General is the office that people get because it's about public safety. And so there's a higher level of recognition. And so I think the Attorney General candidate needs to help pull up our candidates for Auditor General and Treasurer. We need to run as a ticket. There's a strong Democratic vote that we need to get out, and we can't show any weakness. We have to run as a complete team. But I also think that if I'm the candidate with the record of success I've had as an elected prosecutor that rebuts the Republican charges on crime, I think I not only help our Auditor General and our Treasurer candidates win, but I think I help the Biden Kamala Harris ticket. I think we are going to win, but I think it's going to be a heck of a fight. And we need everybody doing their absolute best. That's actually why I'm running. I'll be taking a pay cut if I get elected Attorney General from my role as District Attorney of Delaware County. But I am so concerned about the future of this country. I have two 18-year-old children in this house, and I'm scared of what this country is going to be. As I mentioned to you, my mother came to this country as a refugee from Nazi slave labor camp. I can't begin to tell you how disheartening it is for me to be sitting here in 2023 and talking about maybe the end of democracy if we don't win this next election. But that's the stark reality. And I'm willing to bring all of my talents, all of my effort to pull the whole ticket over the goal line. And that's why I want to be the Democratic nominee.
Yeah, I think you're right on point with this issue of the voter apathy at the top of the ticket. But I also think that voters are very focused in on the values of the Democratic Party, reproductive rights, voting rights, and this issue of folks who want to overthrow our government. And so, if
Yep.
we focus in on those core values, then I think that we can, engage our electorate. And we also know that when Governor Shapiro ran as Attorney General, he got more votes than
Yep.
the presidential. And so that position is very influential in making sure that all of these candidates are able to cream to the top.
That's exactly right. And not only our values, but we also have to be able to show that government can improve the lives of our people. Too many working people in this Commonwealth and in this country, black, white, brown, everyone, does not think the government is on their side. And that's wrong. You and I know that's wrong. Josh Shapiro is trying to convince them every day as governor that that's wrong. The government has your back. I've been doing it in Delaware County. Malcolm Kenyatta has been doing it in the state legislature. There's a lot of good people who can bring that message, but we have to have the same exact message. You're exactly right, that we are here for you. We have your back. We're going to make your lives better. And you need us in office to stand up for democratic values, including just the basic democratic values of democracy, the rule of law.
Exactly. And I think that folks don't realize how important the opioid settlement funding is going to be
Correct.
to figuring out ways to be able to deal with our opioid crisis. Similar to the funding from the JRI has been reducing crime in our urban areas, and it's working. That came from Attorney General. So those are the messages that I think that folks, it's evidence-based, right? We always talk about
Exactly.
evidence-based
Yep.
programs, but so it's essentially the same thing goes for these elections. We need to be able to articulate effectively to the electorate that there's an evidence-based reason why Democrats are the better choice.
That's absolutely right. And that's why, again, I think I'm the strongest attorney general candidate because I can point to actual accomplishments as a prosecutor. To your point, opioid, I sued the opioid distributors and brought millions of dollars home to Delaware County. And we're now helping people. Every family's been touched by the opioid crisis. I lost my own brother to addiction 3 years ago, died in the middle of a pandemic alone. All of us want to help these people with substance abuse disorder. We've brought the resources, Josh Shapiro, me, we've done it together. I can do it as Attorney General, and we can do it as a party. We just need to put our best foot forward.
Well, I want to thank you, Jack, for taking the time to talk to the Pennsylvania Democratic Black Caucus. We're going to be continuing to have these conversations. So look out for additional
Got it.
correspondence from us because we really want to make sure that we're highlighting the issues for our electorate and we're keeping in touch with our candidates. So good luck in
Thank you.
2024 and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, and I'll look forward to talking to you in the new year. Thanks, Alicia.
All right,
Thank you
take
so much.
care.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.